Everyone. Okay, so as the Rebbe mentioned, today's course, our course is all about really the most important thing, which is life. What are we doing with our lives? Really, one thing we know that we're all doing with our lives is we're writing our life story. And I know many people who they're writing a story is not necessarily the best story that they could be writing. And they're letting other people write their story for them, and external circumstances dictate how they feel about themselves and their lives and their stories. So really in this course, what we're going to do is look into how to write our own empowering, amazing, meaningful, deep, sweet life story. So I'm going to mention very briefly a bit about my life story, how it really all started. I was born in England, and I went to Manchester University. In Manchester University, I studied philosophy, which, to be honest, was a bit of a waste of time. But I played lots of pool, drank lots of beer, and I was a dance music DJ for a little bit. And I started asking people a question, very simple question, which was, how are you? How are you? And unfortunately, the general response I got from people was something along the lines of, I can't complain, or I'm getting by, or not too bad. Not too bad's really bad, because it is saying that I'm bad, but I'm not too bad. So that's a tragedy. Or I'm hanging in there, I'm fine. Fine means feelings inside not expressed. That's what fine stands for. So I realized that no one's living a particularly happy, powerful life, and I thought, I'm actually not that happy and empowered myself. And I noticed that many people, older people, were getting jobs that they didn't really like, and there was lots of divorce, lots of depression, lots of drug use. And I decided this can't be what life is all about. There's got to be more than this, or at least I was hoping something more than this. And around this time, my grandfather, in South Africa, he died when he was 100 years old. And he said to me before he died, he said, you don't want to live an I should have life. So I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, he was about 96. He said, I'm 96 years old. And he was in a wheelchair, but mentally he was all there until the end. And he said, you don't want to live a life where you look back on it when you're 96 and think to yourself, I really should have traveled more, or I should have worked out what the purpose of life was more, or I should have worked less and spent more time with my family, or I should have told my wife more often how much I loved her, or I should have been to the gym. Maybe if I'd been to the gym, I wouldn't be in a wheelchair now. And so he was saying, don't live a life that when you get to 95, 96, 97 years old, you're looking back and regretting some things that you didn't do. Rather, live an empowered and good life now. You have a chance now at your age. Really, this goes for whatever age you are now. 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, 90, you've still got some years left. Start living a life now that you're really proud of, and you're really doing what you want to do, and you're building an amazing, empowered, good, beautiful life for yourself. I really took these words to heart, and as soon as I finished my degree, my philosophy degree, I actually did get a degree in the end, I decided I'm going to go and find out really what's the purpose of life, because there's another question I started asking people, which was, what do you believe? What do you value? And these are questions that we're going to ask on this course, but I found that if you ask someone, what do you believe, many people don't really know. They haven't really thought about it. Do you believe in that you have a soul? So most people, 60 years old, if you ask them, they're like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. They just don't know. Or if they do know, and they say, yeah, I believe we have a soul. So if you say to them, well, why do you believe that? Then they don't have an answer. It's not that they've thought it out. And I've noticed that most people really just become a product of their society. Let's say you were born in India. So by now you'd probably, you'd eat rice every day, and you'd believe in many gods, and you'd drive a tuk-tuk. It's a little mini taxi, motorbike taxi thing. Or if you were born in a village in China, you'd be communist, maybe do Tai Chi. If you were born in Mea Shearim, just down the road from me here, you'd probably have many, many children and believe certain things, maybe have payot. So really, most people haven't really thought about it too much. They just become a product of their society and conditioning from when they're young. And I decided I don't want to do this. I want to actually work out, what do I really value? What's life really about? So I decided I'd watch lots of martial arts films. And I never really thought Judaism was a viable spiritual option. I had a very strong Jewish identity growing up. I had a bar mitzvah, and we had Hanukkah, lit candles, and Pesach, and Rosh Hashanah. I did stuff. Friday night, even every Friday night, we had a meal with my family. I used to go clubbing in London after Friday night meal. But I had a strong Jewish identity, and most of my friends were Jewish, and I never ate pig. In my whole life, I've never knowingly eaten pig. I've eaten many other interesting things on my journeys, but never pig. So I had a strong Jewish identity. I actually played football, or soccer, football for the Presbyterian Church football team on Jeju Island. It's a small island off the coast of Korea. And we got into the island tournament, and they said to me, you can only play in the tournament if you come to church every week. And I remember I said, no, I'm Jewish, Jews don't go to church. So that's the only thing. I used to go to the Buddhist temple around the corner every day. But I was like, no, I don't go to church. So I had a very strong Jewish identity, but Judaism on the surface didn't seem like a particularly valuable tradition, just kind of old rituals and customs, which were nice, but it wasn't really the path. So I started watching lots of martial arts films, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, and I saw that there's some real wisdom. And so I decided I'm going to go and find out. So I spent the next 6 years living in Asia, in the Far East, Sri Lanka, Thailand, India, Korea, Japan, because I really wanted to go and find out, a little bit more of, what am I actually doing here? What's the purpose? Am I meant to be achieving anything whilst I'm here? I thought, if I've only got 80 years left, I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing here. So in the future, in some of these classes, I'll go into more about things I learned along the way. But today, that was just a general background. So, okay, I'll just finish off. I spent 6 years in Asia doing lots of martial arts and meditation retreats. And after 6 years, I was actually on my way to South America, and I stopped in Israel for a while. And someone said to me, why didn't you learn a bit about Judaism, your own religion? And I was like, no, it's outdated and ritualistic and male chauvinistic, and religious people don't seem so spiritual. But I started learning, and I quickly saw that the reason I didn't like Judaism so much was that I didn't really understand what it said on a deeper level. So I stayed and I started learning, and the rest is history. And here I am, a rabbi in Jerusalem with a wonderful wife and 2 beautiful children. So what I'm going to do in today's session is I'm going to share with you a presentation. I'm going to share my screen now. Share my screen. There we go. Okay. So here's my screen. So this is called 4 Keys to Life. It's really 4 keys to life. You can see in the top left-hand corner, that's me. It's one picture of me at Annapurna Base Camp in Nepal, and then a few years later in front of the Kotel. So 4 keys to life. I think you'll notice it doesn't say the 4 keys to life, because I think there are more than 4 keys, but it's 4 keys to certain things that we all generally find important in our life. So the first one I want to talk a little bit about is the key to success. What is success? So I just want you to take a second now and think to yourself, and you don't think of a specific person, but just think of a successful person. What does a successful person look like in your mind? When I say a successful person, what picture comes to your mind? So if you're like most people who grew up near where I grew up, what you thought of was someone with a big car, a nice car, a Ferrari, and a suit and a nice haircut, because we've really been brought up to believe in our Western society that success equals financial success. Success is based on how much you've acquired in your life, what car you drive, what job you have, how much money you make, what your house looks like, and there are other external things like what your body looks like, or what your boyfriend's body looks like, or what your girlfriend's body looks like. So we have this thing in the West, which is very much success is based on kind of how much I can get. This is how much I've made. I think Forbes said, the person who dies with most toys wins. So we've got this idea that what's actually going to make us happy, because obviously everyone really ultimately they think, I want to be happy. So we think what's going to make us happy is to have more. The more we acquire, the happier we'll be. And really we know in the end that that's not true, because you'll always be wanting more. And you'll always compare yourself to other people. And it really turns out that the suicide rate amongst rich people is much higher than amongst poor people. Because really, if you're trying to find fulfillment through just getting more, then you're never going to get there. And you'll never have significance, and you'll never be satisfied. So really the keys to success is, number one, understand what the purpose of life. So really the definition of success, we'll go into this more in other classes, is to achieve the goal, or achieve the purpose. So if you've achieved your purpose, that means you've succeeded. So if your purpose in life is to have a nice car, then getting a nice car, you have been successful. Is there an actual purpose? What are we doing here? What are we doing in life? So I remember going to, when I lived in India, I was watching a woman, a very old woman. She must have been like 75 years old, wrinkled old lady with white hair, sitting on the side of the road, smashing rocks with a big hammer. I went and helped her for a bit. I kind of like doing that, going around trying to help people. And but I got a bit tired quite soon, and she carried on smashing the rocks, and I sat there and I was thinking to myself, why is she doing this? Why is she spending all day smashing rocks? And I was like, because she needs some money. And why does she need money? Because she needs to buy food. And why does she need to buy food? Because she needs to eat. And why does she need to eat? She needs to eat to stay alive. And what is she staying alive for? To smash rocks. And I realized she's in this cycle of just being alive. There didn't seem to be any real purpose. She was just being alive to be alive. And I saw it in many places. I lived in a very small village in the north of Laos. And these guys, they'd never seen a white person before. They didn't have running water, didn't have electricity, they didn't have anything, and they didn't have education, medical care, anything. And they never really seemed to think about what is the purpose of life. The whole 90% of their day was spent farming, collecting water from the river to cook the food, and to water the rice, and cutting down wood to make the fire to eat. But they were just staying alive to stay alive without really thinking about what the purpose of life is. And once again, as I said before, I think many of us in the West, we also don't really think, well, why am I actually here? We might live good lives and do nice things and give some charity, but we haven't necessarily stopped and said, is there really a game that we're meant to be playing? So the first thing is to really understand the purpose of life. And from what I've seen studying philosophy and living in many different cultures, is that there are two general purposes that I'd say everyone would agree with. Now, obviously, we have to get more specific within them, but the general purposes of life, that a Buddhist, an atheist, a Hindu, Jew, anyone, I would say, would agree with this. There are two very general purposes of life. Number one is to improve yourself, to become the best person you can become. You've been given a certain amount of time in the world, 100 years, let's say, and in that 100 years, what you're really trying to achieve in this 100 years is to improve yourself, perfect yourself. We call it being a tzaddik. Become the most righteous, the best person you can possibly be. In fact, the Talmud, the Gemara teaches that there was a condition before your soul came down into the world. Hashem, God said, there's a condition, you're going into the world because you have to choose, are you going to be a righteous person or an evil person? So what we're doing is we're trying to be the best person we can become. And one of the main ideas behind that is called Tikkun Hamidot, which means fixing your character traits. So we all have character traits, some good and some bad. And to become the best person we can become, if you really think of a tzaddik, of someone who you think is righteous or they've really worked on themselves, or an enlightened person, is someone who has very, very good character traits. Someone who doesn't have anger and impatience and greed and lust and jealousy and envy. And they do have compassion and love and joy and sharing. So they have good character traits. So really, what it means in a more basic way to perfect ourselves is to work on our character traits. Now, someone once said to me, a girl said to me actually a few weeks ago, she said, "Rabbi, I hate myself." And I said, "Why do you hate yourself?" And she said, "Because I get very angry every time my mother pressures me to get married." And she listed a few negative character traits. And I said to her, "Okay, I hear. You've just told me some of your negative character traits, but why do you hate yourself?" I think she got the idea. The idea is that you don't judge yourself by your character traits. We all have negative character traits. We all have things we're going to work on. And that's not who we are. That's character traits that we have. So what we're trying to do in our life is to perfect them. Actually, an older man came up to me and said, "I'm a very impatient person." I was like, as if that really kind of identified who he was. And he's basically surrendered to the fact that he's an impatient person. But the truth is, he's not an impatient person. At the moment, he's acting with impatience, he's having impatient thoughts, impatient feelings. But what we can do, we can work on those things. We can work on them. So after 10 years of working on something, you can learn how to deal with situations. And we actually teach that Hashem is going to put you in many situations in your life to test your patience. If you have this character trait called impatience, then Hashem is going to make the bus take longer to get to you. Is that because he doesn't like you, he wants to punish you? No, because he wants you to practice patience. So once we've perfected the patience, then we don't need those tests anymore. Another man actually came up to me and he said, "My work is very stressful. I've got a very stressful job." And he'd been in it like for 40 years. So I said to him, "Well, after 2 years of it being stressful, what articles did you read about how to deal with stress? Or what seminars did you go to about learning to deal with stressful situations?" And he would like, no, he didn't do that, because he had just accepted that this was stressful and he's a person who gets stressed. So we're taught, don't accept negative character traits, negative emotions, negative thoughts. Work on them, and that's how you improve yourself. The second point of life is to improve the world, positively influence the world around you. We call it Tikkun Olam. Judaism teaches we're here in partnership with God. God created the world, and what he wants us to do is to come and uplift and perfect the world, heal the world, make it a better place. That's what we're meant to be doing here. So many of the mitzvahs that we've been given, the commandments or the ways to connect, are all about charity, helping other people, looking after orphans and widows. How are we going to be here and make the world a better place? And some people say, hold on, if God is perfect and loving and wonderful, why is there so much war and famine and difficult things in the world? And really, it's because we're meant to have a partnership. Hashem gives us the basic materials, the world, and we're meant to bring it to a higher level. There's a famous midrash, Tanchuma, where a Roman general, Turnus Rufus, he says to Rabbi Akiva, what is better, the work of God or the work of man? And really what he was getting at was circumcision, bris milah. He didn't like bris. He was like, if God creates a human body in a certain way, why would you change that? Why would you cut some of that off? So he thought it was a trick question to Rabbi Akiva. What's better, the work of God or the work of man? And Rabbi Akiva replied to him and said, well, what would you rather eat, wheat or bread? So you got the idea. Wheat is the work of God, and man takes wheat, and we work it, and we use it, and we turn it into bread, which is something that we can really eat and enjoy. So what the world is Hashem's given us the basic materials and says, now you come and take it to the higher level. You perfect it, let's be partners in the world. So really, this is the purpose. This is what we're doing in our lives. We're improving ourselves, becoming a tzaddik, becoming the best people we can possibly become. And we're improving the world around us. Now, how we actually do that, improve yourself, is going to depend. Everyone would say a different thing. A Christian would say to improve yourself, to become the best self you can possibly be, involves taking Jesus into your heart. And a Buddhist would say to become the best person you can be, it involves understanding the concept of anatta, that there is no neshama, there is no soul, there is no eternal self, and to meditate. And a Jewish person would say really to become the best self, it would mean to be the most God-conscious person you can possibly become. I've actually put here, Tikkun Olam b'malchut shakai. Everyone's kind of taken the word Tikkun Olam out of context nowadays and says Tikkun Olam is all about setting up orphanages and helping people, which it is. But the rest of the verse actually says b'malchut shakai, with the kingship of divinity, with God in there. So how do you really fix the world? Is by bringing God consciousness into the world. So that's really how we're going to perfect ourselves. But we're going to talk later about which of those particular paths is the right one to go. But everyone's going to say that's what we're doing here. So the key to success is understanding that success means reaching the goal, and the goal is these two things. So you have to ask yourself, for every decision you make, am I doing these? Is this decision that I'm about to make going to make myself a better person and make the world a better person, or is it not? That's simple. So now if I said to you, imagine a successful person, really it's got nothing to do, your imagination has got nothing to do with what car they drive, or even if they have a car. For us now, we're going to think, right, a successful person is a person who's got the most beautiful character traits, who's the most loving and kind person. You're the sort of person who walks into the room and everyone's like, oh no, they're going to say something bad about me, or you're the person who walks into the room and brings light into the room and uplifts people and everyone loves to be around you. What's your attitude to life? Are you that sort of person? That means success, how much you've perfected yourself and perfected the world. And the next thing to understand is the more you put in, the more you get out. In Pirkei Avot, it's called Lefum Tzara Agra. According to the effort, so is the reward, so is the growth. So really to succeed in life and keep the success is to put in the effort. We don't like to put in the effort. Everyone says, yeah, I really want to change, but then they don't want to put in the effort that it takes to change. One guy came up to me once and said, Rabbi, I want to lose weight. So I said, okay, so you have to go to the gym a few times a week and do high reps of lighter weights and go do a lot of running, cut fatty foods out of your diet and eat more green leafy foods. And he said, Rabbi, that's easier said than done. And I said, yeah, it is easier said than done. No achievement in life, no success comes without some sort of effort. You've got to put in the effort and then you'll get the reward. So it is easier said than done, but if you just say it and don't do it, you're not going to lose weight. You've got to do these things. So that's really the key to success. Next one we're going to talk about. And basically we're going to get more and more into these ideas in the next sessions. Key to happiness. I've put a few pictures here. This is me in the bottom left corner. That's me in my orphanage in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is the first country I went to when I left university, really because it was the most random place I could think of at the time. And I went into a small village, and once again, they'd never seen a white person before. And I started teaching English, and I worked in an orphanage. Now, I had a very privileged upbringing. I had very, very loving parents and a good education, and I did sport and music, and I had an amazing life. And when I went into, I obviously saw poverty around me, but to go into these villages where the kids, you can see these in India, those were the only clothes they had. And they slept on the floor with all these tattered blankets, and they had 1 meal a day of rice. In many of these countries, the word to eat, they say eat rice. In Thailand, for example, gin cow. It just means because they don't have a choice. It's not like I'll eat rice, I'll eat shawarma today and pizza tomorrow and a tuna bagel the next day. Rice is what you eat. So these guys really had very little. And I realized that because I had such a privileged upbringing, I had so much, and therefore I have so much to give. Now, I ran trips to Thailand and Sri Lanka and Peru and Nicaragua and South Africa. My organization that I work for is called Justify. Should all come on a trip. And lots of the people come on my trips and they feel very guilty about having a privileged upbringing. And I ask them, why do you feel guilty? You didn't do anything wrong. Guilt is not necessarily the appropriate emotion to have towards your privilege. What we should have is appreciation for what we have, and therefore we feel responsible. Once you have a privileged life, you know you're responsible for other people. So I came into these communities and I was like, wow, and some people see despair, but I saw real hope. So I can do lots with these kids, but it's actually from them that I learned a very big lesson, which is the key to happiness. You can see, especially in this middle photo, lots of these kids seem to be a lot happier than myself and my friends at home. And we had everything and they have nothing. So I was wondering, why are these kids so happy? And I noticed that they'd really tapped into a key to happiness, which is appreciation. Truly and fully appreciating everything we have. Unfortunately, in our culture, because there's a lot of acquisition and what's in it for me, we're very rarely happy with what we have. We always want the next iPhone, and we're always thinking to ourselves, if I had a better computer or a better phone or a better car or a better girlfriend or a better relationship with my parents, we're always thinking if I had something better, then I'd be happy. And unfortunately, because our minds often take us there, we focus on what we're lacking in our lives. And if you focus on what you're lacking or how you wish something was different or comparing yourself to other people, it's always going to get you down. But if you're focusing on everything you have, that's going to make you happy. You're going to be content with what you have. It says in Pirkei Avot, Ezehu Ashir, who is the rich person? Sameach b'chelko, the person who is happy with what they have. And these kids, really, every meal they got, they appreciated it so much. And I bought them a cricket bat, and it was the best day of their life. And there was, in Malawi, these kids, they were sharing like one pencil between 5 children. So I went and I bought them each a pencil, and it was the best day of their life. They were high fives. They couldn't believe it. It's an amazing thing. Because for them, every little thing was important and special. So they fully appreciated everything they have. So this is a key to happiness, appreciation. Now, what I say every morning, and the first thing it says in the Jewish prayer book is Modeh Ani, which means grateful am I. Grateful am I. Our sages teach us that really most of the power of anything comes at the beginning. So if you get out of bed on the wrong side, you're not going to have a great day. Or if you play tennis, however you hit the ball, that's how it's going to go over. The whole tree is in the seed. The beginning is very important. So what our sages teach us is start your day. The very first thing you think in your day is grateful am I, gratitude. If we start with an attitude of gratitude, it's going to change our whole day. And by the way, anyone who speaks Hebrew, you can see Modeh Ani is not such good Hebrew, it's out of order. It should be Ani Modeh, I am grateful. Modeh Ani is grateful am I. So our sages teach us is because you don't want to wake up in the morning with Ani, with ego, with me, with myself. Wake up in the morning with gratitude. Thank you. And really think about it consciously. The other point to make here about happiness is it's got to be conscious gratitude. For example, you probably all appreciate your legs. So I work with lots of kids in India who have polio and they're dragging themselves on the floor. So if I say to you, do you appreciate your legs? Then everyone says, yeah, I guess so. But when was the last time you actually consciously appreciated them? For most people, it's after they've been to the gym and they hurt. But really, take a moment every day, when you're walking down the street, you say, wow, it's amazing that I'm walking. Or your eyes. It's amazing that we can see. I often just look at my children, and I just think it's amazing that I can see them. Many people can't see their own children. So conscious gratitude for everything we have is really one of the keys to happiness in life. And the practical way to do that, because I want to make this practical, is start making a list. Every day, write down one thing you're grateful for. You know how long that's going to take? 10 seconds. And then at the end of 2 weeks, you'll have 14 things that you're grateful for. And when you're feeling a bit down, or you're comparing yourself to other people, you pull out your list and you read your list of what you're grateful for. It's very important, and it really takes 10 seconds a day. So who wants to be happy here? Everyone? Great. Who agrees that appreciating what you have is a very good key to being happy? Everyone. Who sees that making a list is a very practical tool for applying this in your life? Everyone. So who's actually going to take the 10 seconds a day to do that? Not everyone. And so you're going to be 96 years old and you're going to look back and think to yourselves, I should have just written that list. So I'm urging you very strongly, start making a list. What are you grateful for in your life? And start focusing on that a lot. In fact, the word for Jewish people is Yehudi. Yehudi comes from the word modeh, l'odot, to appreciate, to acknowledge. Really, appreciation comes first from hakarat hatov, recognizing the good, recognizing what's good in your life, and from that, you'll have gratitude. And that's the essence of what it means to be a Jew, a Yehudi. It's someone who acknowledges the good that's in their life. So that's really the essence of who we are. Let's tap into that. We're going to move swiftly on. Keep a peace of mind. So really everyone talks about peace of mind and mindfulness. And it's a very, very important thing. So here's a couple of pictures. In the top right-hand corner, that's a picture of my meditation cell. So when I lived in Thailand, for the first 10 days of every month, there was a 10-day silent meditation retreat. Have any of you been silent for 10 days? So I used to go to this retreat quite often and spend 10 days in complete silence. This is why I speak so much now, by the way. I'm trying to make up for it. And not only was there silence, there was no reading, there was no writing, there was no listening to music, there was no distractions at all, just you and your mind. And people say, don't you go crazy? And I say, yeah, look at me. No, I say no, it's actually the opposite. You stop being crazy because you start understanding what's going on in your mind. So as you can see in the picture, we had a wooden bed, and you can just see there's a block of wood on the bed. When I arrived in the temple, the monk gave me a block of wood and said, here is your wooden pillow. And I was like, no, that's a block of wood. And he was like, no, wooden pillow. I was like, okay, it's all in your mind. So it was a wooden bed with a wooden pillow, and the bell would go at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we'd get out of bed, which wasn't so hard because you don't want to be in bed when it's made of wood. And we went outside and poured a bucket of cold water over us as a kind of morning shower. And we spent the next kind of 15 hours meditating, learning to control our minds. Basically, it was called anapanasati, which means consciousness of in and out breathing, inhaling and exhaling, just learning to focus the mind. Now, why this is so important is because ultimately your whole experience of life comes through your mind. So that again, it's very important. Your whole experience of life comes through your mind. Your thoughts create your emotions. Your thoughts create how you feel. So if you're having happy thoughts, you feel happy. Sad thoughts, you feel sad. Angry thoughts, you feel angry. And really, 2 different days, you can react in 2 totally different ways to exactly the same thing. So one day, you know that day where you wake up and everything's okay. You're just in a good mood. And you miss the bus and you're like, okay, it doesn't matter, I'll get the next bus. And someone insults you and you just don't care. And the next day, you wake up in a bad mood. And you miss the bus and you get so angry and someone insults you, you cry. And so what changed? The external world didn't change. What changed is your internal world, what you believe about yourself. So let's say someone pushes in front of you in the queue at the bank. So how does that make you feel? Well, it depends. If you have low self-esteem, it might make you feel really upset with yourself for letting someone walk over you. If you have arrogance, then you get very angry with them. So what you believe about yourself is going to determine how you react and experience certain situations. And what you believe about the other person, if it's your best friend you haven't seen for years, you wouldn't care. But if it's someone you don't like, it would upset you. If you just had an argument with your boss, you'd get really upset. If you just won the lottery, you wouldn't care. So it depends on your mood, how much you ate that day, how much you slept that day, what happened to you, what your mood is. So really, once we can learn to be a master of our mind, then we can be a master of our life. Once we can be a master of our mind, we can be a master of our life. So all our suffering in life really comes through our mind. Low self-esteem, doubt, fear, worry, anger, jealousy. It's all coming through our minds. So we can learn to watch what's going on in our minds and choose what thoughts we have. Once we can be strong enough and conscious enough to choose what thoughts we have, then we can be a master of our life. Very quick story about my daughter. When she was 3 years old, it was Shabbat, and she wanted ice cream. I said, of course you can have ice cream. I love ice cream. I love Shabbat. I love you. So I went to the freezer and opened it, and it was a bit of a nightmare. There was no ice cream. So I came back to her, and I said, her name's Tamara Menucha. So I said, Nucha, we don't have any ice cream. And she started to whine, why? It's not fair. Abba. So having read some parenting book, rather than just telling her to be quiet, it's not so bad, I acknowledged her feelings. I said, okay, Nucha, I actually understand that this is really upset. And by the way, this is another key for everyone, is acknowledge your feelings. It's okay how you feel. Our thoughts, we've got to learn to control. Feelings, we just acknowledge them and accept them and then move on. Don't perpetuate them by thinking into them. For example, have you ever felt upset and then you get upset with yourself for feeling upset? You know, I shouldn't feel upset. Well, that doesn't help, because it means you're upset and now you're making yourself wrong for being upset, which makes you more upset. Or you feel sad and you're like, I'm a bad person for feeling sad. Or you have a jealous thought and you judge yourself, oh, I'm such a bad person. That's not helping. So once you have a feeling, once an emotion has arisen, just accept it, acknowledge it, and then move on. So anyway, I acknowledged Nucha's feelings, and I said, I see you're really upset, thinking that that might stop her from crying, but it didn't. She still carried on whining. So then I said to her, okay, look, let's do an experiment, because we both want ice cream. Do you think that whining is going to create more ice cream? And she looked a bit confused. So I took a bowl out of the cupboard, I put it on the table, and I said, come on, let's whine together. Maybe we can make more ice cream. It must be difficult with me as your father. Anyway, so I put the bowl on the table and I started to whine. I was like, no, why? It's not fair. And because I have Kabbalistic powers, I actually made more ice cream. No, that's not true, but Nucha started laughing at this point, which is a very good progression. It went from kind of whining to confusion to laughter. So I said, Nucha, now we've got a choice, because we have a situation, no ice cream. We both want ice cream, and we can't make more ice cream. So we've really got a choice now, and the choice is we can be sad for the rest of Shabbat that we don't have ice cream, or we could choose to be happy instead. Even though we don't have ice cream, we can still choose to be happy. And if we want to be sad, we can have these thoughts. It's not fair that I don't have ice cream. I'll never have ice cream. Shabbat is terrible without ice cream. I bet my friends have ice cream. And so we can have those thoughts, and if we have those thoughts, it will make us sad. Or we could choose to have these thoughts. I can have cake instead. I'll have ice cream tomorrow, and it will be much better because I waited for it. I'll enjoy it more. I'm happy for my friends that they're having ice cream. That's a very difficult one. Whatever. So I said, look, we could choose. So if we choose these positive thoughts and great gratitude thoughts, then we can be happy. And so she thought about it for a bit, and she said, okay, Abba, let's choose to be happy. So really, we have a choice. We have a choice. We don't have a choice about our external circumstances very often, but we do have a choice to some extent how we react to them. Now, this is hard enough as it is. Most of us can't do this, however nice and comfortable our lives have been. It's very difficult. Then someone who's been through trauma and abuse you can't just say to them, well, just change how your mind is. There's lots of therapy and healing that needs to be done, energy healing. But eventually what's going to be the transformation and turnaround is a change of thoughts, how you're going to control and change your mind. And obviously there are things much more difficult in life than no ice cream. So pain is not caused by yourself. You're going to have pain in your life. Other people can cause us pain. And the suffering is how our mind relates to the pain in a negative way, in a victim way. So once we can learn to control how we're relating to the pain, then we can go beyond our suffering in our life. So I'm going to get into this a lot. In lots of the sessions, really we're going to talk about how to control the mind, and let's just move on quickly. Whole experience of life, that's your mind. Don't identify with your mind. It's the same as don't identify with your negative character traits. Don't identify with the negative voices in your mind. So often we have a voice, a very critical voice in our head. I'm not good enough, what's wrong with me? I asked a group the other day, have you made a mistake in the last month? Who has made a mistake in the last month? So everyone with their hand up. So I said, okay, when you made the mistake, did you have these thoughts? What's wrong with me? I'm such an idiot. What do other people think of me? What do I think of myself? I let myself down. And so they all put their hands up there. And I said, so how did those thoughts help? And obviously they don't help. Easier said than done to not have those thoughts. But really, once you don't identify with your mind and you start to watch what's going on in your mind, then you become, it's called going into the observer space. So let's say you have a jealous thought. You can either go with the jealous thought and think about it more, not advisable. You can beat yourself up. Why did I have a jealous thought? I'm much better than it. Or you could just say, okay, that was a jealous thought. And let it go. Thoughts come and thoughts go. So just observe it, label it. There's a jealous thought. There's not who I am. There it is. And it goes. And now I'll work on myself in that way. Really, our masters teach us, Ezehu Gibor, who is a master? The person who can control their negative mind patterns, really. Who can control their mind. So Pirkei Avot is teaching us here that the real master isn't someone who can beat someone else up or is stronger or runs faster. It's someone who can learn to control their own negative and critical voice in their heads. And that's really what we're trying to do. So that is how we're going to get peace of mind. Once again, lots of my sessions will teach you practically how to start being more in control of what thoughts you let in. So Judaism isn't only about what food you let in your mouth. You're not allowed to eat pig. It's about what thoughts you let even come into your mind and what you do with the thoughts once they get there. We're going to move swiftly on. Deeper fulfillment in life. So basically, I spent lots of time in India and many places, and I spent lots of time working in orphanages. And then I came to Israel, and after learning in yeshiva for a long time, I wanted to get back into my social justice work, volunteering work. So the first thing I did was I set up an organization called All for the Kids. And my first project was walking from the Lebanese border in the north of Israel to Eilat. It's a 960-kilometer walk. And I did it to raise money for orphanages in India and in Malawi, where I lived for a while, and in Israel. There's an amazing adventure you can see here in the bottom left corner. I went to Sderot for a day, and we gave out teddy bears, and we did music and dance in a school in Sderot. And someone actually said to me, you know, you didn't do much good. You just felt good about yourself for helping them. But it didn't help them that much. And in a way it's true, but really one of the keys is that doing a little bit that helps people is doing a lot. What I mean by that is these kids, no, it didn't change their lives totally, but it gave them a good day. It made them feel that people care about them. They got teddy bears, they had fun. So don't ever say to yourself, because I can't do a lot, I won't do anything. If I'm not going to set up an orphanage, I won't do anything. Do whatever you can. Little things are important. Smile at people more. Say good things. People think Tikkun Olam means setting up orphanages, but really calling your mother once in a while and telling her how much you love and appreciate her, that's also Tikkun Olam. That's positively influencing the world around you. Talking to the bus driver, saying thank you to the bus driver. So every little bit really helps. And then I ran trips in India for a long time for Israeli backpackers. We used to take them into orphanages and schools in the foothills of the Himalayas and teach English and do exercise and paint the schools and bring materials to the schools. And now, as I said before, I work for Justify, the organization running trips all over the world, really helping people to tap into this idea of taking responsibility for your own well-being and for the world around you. So really the key to fulfillment in life is to become a giver, make a contribution rather than a taker. So most famously really spoken out by Eliyahu Dessler. He says really there are two types of people in the world. There are givers and there are takers. And he says really ultimately the cause of all evil in the world is that people are takers. And we care about ourselves and our own ego and money, sex and power more than other people. And through that we're creating suffering in the world. And really what we're meant to be doing in life is to be a giver, be someone who's always looking to help other people. What can I do for other people? Love your fellow person as you love yourself. That's a whole other thing we're going to talk about later. You've got to learn to love yourself first, really, to be able to do that properly. So it's a complete reverse of how kind of we're brought up in a way, which is, the more I can get, the better it will be. But no, the more you can give, the better it is. And that's really one of the whole goals of us being in the world, as we said at the beginning. There are two purposes of life. Perfect yourself, perfect the world. And to perfect the world, it means be a giver. Go out there, make a difference in other people's lives. And just like we say, God is a giver. God created the world in order to give good, because he didn't need to create the world in order to gain something for himself necessarily. There is a deep idea I'm going to share later about that. But just as God is a giver and has loving kindness, so too we should tap into those character traits. We should have the character traits of compassion and kindness and love. And that is, we're going to be most fulfilled by doing that. And I think all of us have experienced that. You've experienced that when a friend broke up with their boyfriend. And you sat with them for a few hours and let them cry and listen to them. That was very fulfilling for you. To feel, I'm here for someone else. Look, there's an amazing organization that takes people who are suffering from depression and gives them a project, makes them volunteer, so they're helping other people. And once you step out of the focusing on yourself and your problems and help other people, it helps you deal with your own problems as well. So really, the key to fulfillment in your life is to learn to give to other people, make a contribution. And as I just said before, every little act counts. Every little thing counts. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. Just do little things. Always be conscientious. What we want to do in our lives is we want to be conscious and we want to be conscientious. We want to grow in our mindfulness, and we're going to grow in seeing what can I do? How can I be there and help other people? All right, so I'm going to finish there. Those are really 4 keys. The key to, I'm going to summarize quickly. The key to success is to understand what is success. Success is really 2 things: perfecting yourself and perfecting the world. And as far as you've moved towards that, that is how successful you've been, reaching the goal that you were created for. Number 2, the key to happiness. The key to happiness is gratitude, conscious gratitude, really appreciating everything you have in your life. Just even now, at the end of the class, write down 5 things. 5 things that you're grateful for: your family, your legs, your education, your healthcare, whatever it is. Key to peace of mind is understanding that your whole life is really determined by how you perceive things, and that you really have the choice how to relate to your external circumstances, and to be able to not identify with your mind. Just watch it. Say, okay, there's a jealous thought. I said to someone the other day, if you had a friend who spoke to you like your mind often speaks to you, how long would you let them be your friend? And they're like, not for a very long time. Start watching that voice. Don't identify with it, and don't let it get you down. Start changing it for better thoughts. Key to fulfillment in life is be a giver. Be there for other people, reach out. So really what you're doing in life is you're reaching in to perfect yourself and reaching out to positively influence the world around you. So that's where we are for tonight. Great to have you all here. Please email me. I just put my email address up there. It's Dovebeer, D-O-V-E-E-R @justify.org. Email me with any questions, and I hope to see you next week, and we're going to get deeper into these ideas. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. I've enjoyed myself.
Wow, thank you so much. That was really an insight into mindfulness, and I'm sure that this went straight into our mind and heart, and we'll see how this will all, we'll be able to actually apply it during the week until the next course. I'm very excited for the next course already. I saw that some people have joined a little later, so I just want to make sure we all are on the same page about the time. The course starts at 8 p.m. European time, 8 p.m. German time, and 9 p.m. Israel time. And for the New Yorkers that are not here, it's actually 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So join us next week again. Thank you so much, Dovebeer. Thank you, Bruno and Daniel and Hadassah Sina, and we're looking forward to see you next week. Have a mindful, healthy, and happy week, and be well. All the best.